The autumn wind carved through the Colorado Territory with the merciless precision of a blade, carrying the scent of dying leaves and the promise of a hard winter. Emma Morrison pressed her back against the rough logs of her cabin, her breath forming small clouds in the cold air as she watched a lone rider stumble across the meadow. Blood stained his shirt, and his horse limped behind him, favoring one leg. He was hurt, and badly. Her mother would have turned him away without hesitation. But her mother had been gone 3 months now, leaving Emma alone to face the coming winter with only her healing skills and what little food she had left. When the man fell to the ground near the old well, Emma's heart clenched. She had seen enough wounded creatures to know when someone was near death. This man still had a chance, but only if she acted fast. Her mother's voice echoed in her mind, warning her about strangers, especially men who traveled alone. But her father's compassion lived strong in her heart, the same compassion that had gotten him killed, helping a neighbor during a raid 5 years earlier. Emma moved toward the fallen man, her boots crunching softly on the frost-covered grass. Up close, she saw that he was younger than she first thought, maybe only a few years older than her. His dark hair was matted with blood and dust, and a deep gash split across his shoulder. His breathing was shallow, but steady. When his eyes flickered open, Emma froze. They were gray as storm clouds. "Ma'am," he rasped, "I don't mean no trouble." Emma studied his face carefully. Her mother had taught her to read people the way others read the weather. There was no deceit in his eyes, only pain and exhaustion. "Can you stand?" she asked softly. "I think so," he murmured. She helped him up, his weight heavy on her small frame. He leaned on her as they made their way to the cabin. She could feel the heat radiating off his body. Fever was setting in. Once inside, she guided him to the narrow bed in the corner, the same bed where her mother had taken her last breath. Emma swallowed hard, pushing that memory aside. "What's your name?" she asked, gathering her herbs and bandages. "Jake," he said. "Jake Colton." His voice was hoarse, but steady. "And you'd be Emma." Emma didn't confirm or deny it. Names were dangerous on the frontier. "I need to clean that wound before it festers." "It's going to hurt." Jake nodded. He'd clearly known pain before. As she heated water over the fire and added healing herbs, the smell of sage and golden seal filled the small cabin. It reminded her of her mother's hands guiding hers, teaching her which plants healed and which could kill. When she pressed a clean cloth to his wound, Jake flinched but made no sound. The cut was deep, too clean for an accident. "A knife wound," Emma said quietly. "Someone tried to kill you." Jake met her gaze. "Men who don't like being told no," he said. "I worked for a rancher up north. Found out he was rustling cattle from widows and families with no men to protect them. When I refused to keep quiet, they came after me." Emma's hands paused. Her own small herd meant survival. The thought of men stealing from the defenseless filled her with anger. "How many?" she asked. "4," Jake replied, "including the rancher himself. They caught up with me yesterday. I got away, but not clean." She stitched the wound with practiced precision. "Will they follow you here?" "Doubt it," he said. "I led them through rough country. They'll think I bled out." He paused, "But there's always a chance." His honesty surprised her. Most men would have lied to ease her fear. But Jake spoke plainly, treating her like an equal. That alone made her trust him. "Then we'll deal with it if it comes," she said firmly. "Right now, you need rest and food." Jake managed a faint smile. "Haven't eaten in 2, maybe 3 days." Emma served him a bowl of venison stew and a slice of bread. He ate slowly, savoring each bite. "This is the best meal I've had in years," he said. "My mother taught me," Emma replied softly. "She said a woman who can cook and heal will always survive." "Wise woman," Jake murmured. "I'm sorry for your loss." "She died of fever," Emma said, her voice catching. 3 months ago." Jake's eyes softened. "That's hard, especially out here, alone." "I manage," Emma said quickly, trying to sound strong. He smiled faintly. "You've got strength, Emma. Your parents raised you right." His words warmed her more than the fire did. People often saw her as fragile, but Jake saw her as capable. It stirred something deep inside her. That night his fever climbed. Emma stayed by his side, changing cloths, whispering prayers, and checking his breathing. By morning the fever broke. Jake woke to find her slumped in the chair beside the bed, asleep. "You stayed up all night," he said softly. Emma blinked awake. "I needed to make sure you pulled through." Jake smiled faintly. "Thank you. I owe you my life." She busied herself with breakfast, trying to hide the warmth in her cheeks. But as she worked, she found herself glancing at him. The way the light caught his jawline, the quiet strength in his gray eyes. "How's the shoulder?" she asked. "Sore," he admitted, "but much better. You've got a healer's touch." "You're not fit to travel yet," Emma said. "Stay a few days. Let yourself heal." Jake studied her. "You're kind to offer, but I don't want to be a burden." "You're not," she said softly. "It's nice to have someone to talk to." Their eyes met. Something unspoken passed between them. Jake nodded slowly. "Then I'll stay until I'm well enough to work. I'll earn my keep." And he did. Despite his injury, Jake helped repair fences, chop firewood, and tend her cattle. His presence changed everything. The lonely cabin that once echoed with silence now filled with quiet laughter, shared meals, and gentle conversations by the fire. Each night, as the flames danced across his face, Emma felt her heart stir in ways she had long buried. She found herself braiding her hair a little neater, setting the table with more care, waiting for his stories about the wild lands he had seen. And each time he looked at her, she saw something new in his eyes, something warm and unspoken. But that peace was fragile. Because just as Emma's heart began to trust again, the sound of horses shattered the calm. 4 riders, dust rising, guns glinting in the sun. And the man leading them was someone Emma thought she'd never see. Her uncle, Sheriff Morrison, the same man Jake had run from. The silence in the yard felt heavy as the horses came to a stop. Sheriff Morrison sat tall in his saddle, his cold eyes locked on Emma. His badge glinted in the sunlight, but there was nothing honorable about the man wearing it. "Well now," he said with a slow, chilling smile. "If it isn't little Emma Morrison, all grown up and playing nurse to wanted criminals." Emma stood firm on her porch. Jake stepped beside her, his shoulders still wrapped in healing. For a moment, neither spoke. "What do you want?" Emma asked, keeping her voice steady. Sheriff Morrison tilted his head. "To collect what belongs to the law. Jake Colton is wanted for cattle rustling, and you're guilty of harboring him." "That's a lie," Emma said. "He didn't steal cattle. He exposed men who did." Morrison's smile faded. "Careful, girl. Accusing a sheriff of wrongdoing can get you locked up. Or worse." Jake stepped forward just enough to stand between Emma and the guns aimed at them. "You won't touch her," he said calmly. One of the riders spat. "You got a lot of nerve, Colton. Should have stayed gone when we left you for dead." Emma looked from their faces to the badge on Morrison's chest. She suddenly saw it clearly. Jake had been right all along. Her uncle wasn't here for justice. He was here to silence the man who knew the truth. "You have a warrant?" Emma asked. Morrison blinked, surprised. "What?" "You said Jake is wanted. Then you must have a warrant," Emma said. "Show it." The men exchanged uneasy glances. Morrison's jaw clenched. "I don't need to show you anything," he snapped. "Yes, you do," Emma pressed. "This is my land, and no arrest can be made here without a warrant." Morrison glared at her, his voice rising. "You think your father's books of law make you smart?" "No," Emma said quietly, "but they make me right." The moment stretched tight like a pulled rope. Jake's voice broke the tension. "If you want to arrest someone without cause, you'll have to go through me." Without warning, Morrison's temper snapped. "Take him!" he shouted. His men started down from their horses, hands on their guns. Emma's heart hammered. She grabbed Jake's arm before he drew his own weapon. "Wait!" she whispered. Her mind raced. She could see fear, but something stronger rose with it. Courage. The same courage she imagined her father had felt on his final day. She stepped forward, lifting her chin. "If Jake goes, I go too, and the judge will hear every word about what you've done." Her uncle froze. The judge. That name landed like a stone. Even corrupt men feared being exposed before the law. "Judge Harrison arrives next week," Emma continued. "If you drag us away now, you'll draw more questions than you can afford." The men hesitated. Doubt flickered. A long, tense moment passed before Morrison hissed through his teeth. "This isn't over." He pulled at his reins, turning his horse away. The men followed, but not without casting dark looks at Jake and Emma. When they disappeared over the ridge, Emma felt her knees weaken. Jake caught her before she fell. "You were brave," Jake said softly. "I was scared," Emma whispered. "Bravery only exists when someone is scared," he said, brushing her hair from her face. She looked up into his gray eyes. "I couldn't let them take you." "I wouldn't survive losing someone else." Jake held her close, and for a moment, the world was quiet again. That evening, as the sun dipped behind the mountains, Jake and Emma sat by the fire. The shadows flickered across Jake's face, making his expression look older, wiser, and tired. "He'll come back," Jake said, "with more men." "I know," Emma replied. "We need proof of what he's done," Jake continued, "and we need others who will stand with us." Quote. Emma nodded slowly. "The ranchers he stole from, they'll help if we show them we're not afraid." There, in the warm glow of the fire, a plan began to form. They would gather evidence. They would find the ranchers who were robbed. They would face the sheriff together. The next morning, Jake saddled his horse. His shoulder was still weak, but he insisted on going. "I'll return before nightfall," he said. Emma touched his hand. "Be careful." Jake smiled faintly. "I'll always come back to you." Hours passed slowly as Emma waited. She cleaned the cabin, fed the cattle, chopped wood, and watched the sun sink lower and lower. Just when fear began to grip her, she heard hooves. Jake returned with hope in his eyes. "3 ranchers will meet us tomorrow night. One of them is Mrs. Patterson. She's ready to speak up." Relief washed over Emma. "Thank goodness." Jake stepped closer. "Emma, earlier, when you stood up to them, no one has ever fought for me like that." Her heart thudded. "I couldn't let them take you." "Not after everything." Jake's voice dropped. "I need to tell you something." Emma's breath caught as his hand softly held her cheek. "I love you," Jake said, his voice steady and full of truth. "I tried not to. I didn't come here looking for anything but help. But I fell for you, for your courage, your kindness, your heart." Emma's eyes filled with tears. "I love you too." Jake kissed her gently, a kiss full of warmth and promise. For the first time since her parents' deaths, Emma felt her heart come alive again. She felt safe. She felt loved. But danger was not done with them. The next night, they met with the ranchers in a small line shack. One by one, they shared stories of cattle stolen, threats made, and fear spread. Together, they formed a plan. They would gather proof and take it to the judge. It was risky. It was dangerous. But for the first time, they weren't alone. Wait, before we move on, what do you think about the story so far? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'm really curious to know. The cold wind pressed against the walls of the old line shack as the ranchers finished sharing their stories. Fear sat in the room, but something stronger sat with it. Hope. For the first time, they believed Sheriff Morrison could be stopped. When the meeting ended, Emma and Jake rode home together. The moon lit the trail as their horses walked side by side. Emma felt Jake's presence like a shield beside her. "Do you think the others will stay strong?" Emma asked quietly. "Yes," Jake said, "because they saw you stand up to Morrison. You gave them courage." Emma shook her head. "I only did what was right." Jake looked at her with admiration. "That's what makes you different." For the next few days, they worked day and night, gathering papers, letters, and proof to present to the judge when he arrived. Emma found old notes her mother had kept about missing cattle. Jake rode to speak with more ranchers. Together, they built their case. But on the 4th morning, as Emma hung laundry outside, she saw dust clouds rising over the hill. Not 2 riders this time, not 4, but at least 10. Her heart tightened. "Jake!" she called. He rushed out of the barn, saw the riders, and his jaw set. He brought more men. Sheriff Morrison rode into the yard with a cruel smile. The men behind him carried rifles, their faces cold and ready for violence. "Emma Morrison," he called, "you and that cowboy are under arrest for conspiracy and hiding a criminal." "That meeting was legal," Emma said strongly. "We spoke as citizens." Morrison's eyes narrowed. "Your father always filled your head with foolish ideas. Now look where it got you." Jake stepped forward. "This isn't about law. It's about revenge." Morrison's hand slid to his gun. "Boys, take them." Before they could move, Emma raised her chin and spoke loud enough for them all to hear. "If you take us, the judge will hear everything. And when he does, you will lose more than your badge." A flicker of uncertainty crossed a few faces, but Morrison barked, "Judge won't believe a word from a girl and a wounded drifter." Emma held his stare. "Then why are you so scared of letting us speak to him?" For the first time, Morrison's anger slipped. His voice shook. "I am not scared of you." Quote, "You should be," a new voice called from behind. Hooves thundered again. A black carriage rolled into the yard, escorted by territorial marshals. The door opened, and Judge Harrison stepped out. "Mighty interesting scene to arrive to," the judge said. Sheriff Morrison stiffened. "Your Honor, I was just—" Judge Harrison raised his hand. "Sheriff, I received a letter 2 days ago warning of wrongdoing in this territory. Imagine my surprise to find you here with armed men at a young woman's home." Emma stepped forward, holding the papers they gathered. "Judge Harrison, we have proof of cattle theft and unlawful threats by Sheriff Morrison." The judge took the documents and began reading. His face grew serious. "Sheriff, would you like to explain how cattle from the Patterson and Henderson ranches were sold in Denver without their consent?" Morrison's face turned red. "Lies! All of it!" "Do you have records to prove Jake Colton is a criminal?" the judge asked. Morrison froze. The silence was louder than any confession. Judge Harrison turned to the marshals. "Arrest him." Quote, "No!" Morrison yelled, backing away as the marshals closed in. "I'm the law here." "Not anymore," the judge said firmly. The marshals placed the cuffs on Morrison as he shouted and fought, but his men did not defend him. Without his badge, he was just another criminal. Soon, the yard was quiet again. Only the judge, Emma, Jake, and the marshals remained. Judge Harrison turned to Emma. "You showed great courage. Your father would be proud of you." A tear slid down Emma's cheek. "Thank you, sir." The judge faced Jake. "And you risked your life to tell the truth. The territory needs men like you." Jake nodded respectfully. In the days that followed, the truth spread across the region. Ranchers came forward with more stories. Morrison's crimes were confirmed. He was sentenced to prison. Emma felt a heavy weight lift. At last, she could breathe in peace. 3 weeks later, Emma and Jake stood outside the cabin in the golden glow of sunset. A small gathering of friends watched as Judge Harrison performed a simple ceremony. Emma wore her mother's dress, and Jake wore a clean suit. With a smile full of love, Jake said, "I love you, Emma Colton." Emma's heart swelled. "I love you too, Jake, now and always." They built a life of love and safety together. The ranch grew, and laughter returned to Emma's world. Their home was filled with warmth, children, and the sound of hope. Emma never forgot the lesson that shaped her life. Helping a stranger did not bring danger. It brought love, strength, and a future she never dreamed possible. She healed Jake's wounds with kindness. He healed her heart with love. They stood together through fear and found lasting happiness. Love had truly repaid love.